Funding for this program is provided by Bruce Foods Corporation, makers of the complete line of Cajun King seafood seasoning mixes and other distinctive Louisiana-style food products. And by the Dairy Farmers of Louisiana. When you want good programming, just add milk.
Louisiana. Hi, I'm Chef John Folse, welcoming you to the bayous of South Louisiana. Today, Cajun and Creole cooking holds a prime spot in the world of international cuisine, and I would love for you to know a little bit about it. So why not sit back, relax, and join me and some of my friends as we cook up another great Taste of Louisiana. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to A Taste of Louisiana. I'm Chef John Folse, and today we're going to look at the foods of cotton country. You know, whenever anybody thinks of Louisiana cooking, they think of Cajun and Creole. They think of the great foods of the city of New Orleans. But what about our neighbor right up to the north, all of the great cities and cooking of North Louisiana? That's what we want to talk about today. We want to take a look at the foods that make cotton country famous. Here we're looking at those winding, hilly roads of North Louisiana. I guess this is I-20 or I-49 in cotton country. South Louisiana is nice and flat, a lot of prairies and a lot of swampland. But North Louisiana, rolling hills in the home of Huey Long, U.S. Senator and Governor, almost President of the United States, wrote Every Man a King. And when you think of North Louisiana's rolling hills, you think of the lakes and forests, Kisatchie National Forest, one of the largest in the state of Louisiana. Beautiful pine trees with a lot of recreation area. Here you see people staying out on the porches of camps in that little bitty old woodpecker getting after that great Kisatchie pine. Or the town of Natchitoches. Who doesn't know Natchitoches? The oldest town in the Louisiana Purchase. Founded in 1714. And I tell you, it's a beautiful little bitty town, and visiting with me today is going to be a great friend of mine and the mayor of the city of Natchitoches, Mayor Joe Sampite. He's a good friend, and he's going to come to talk about the Christmas Festival, the Festival of Lights. Look at all these beautiful lights in the city of Natchitoches. So that's just some of the scenes of North Louisiana, but what about the foods? You know, the towns of South Louisiana are named after the French because we're Cajun and Creole. We think of towns like Breaux-Bridge, Thibodaux, Lafourche. When we think of North Louisiana, we think of Catahoula, we think of Natchitoches, Kisatchie, Attakapaw, all the Indian and North Louisiana names. Well, also the cuisine is different. We think of hot and spicy. We think of a lot of melange of ingredients into the pot when we think of the fun cooking of South Louisiana. North Louisiana, we think of, well, let's say a little more conservative cuisine. Great cooking, but a little more conservative into the pot. More of the Anglo-Saxon look, I guess, into the pot. The first dish I want to do today is a dish from North Louisiana, striped bass. And I hope you can see this great, beautiful bass. Look at this thing. It's about 2 pounds, and this comes from a striped bass farm. But the Great Lakes of North Louisiana, Lake Bruin, where I have a little camp, and I guess Toledo Bend is one of the greatest striped bass fishing lakes in the state. However, this is farm raised from Walter Landry, a good friend of mine in North Louisiana. We start the striped bass. We cut 2 little lines right down the side to make sure that it cooks nice and quickly. And then I'm going to season it with a little bit salt, a little bit pepper right across the top for that nice color. I'm going to even put a little thyme and a little basil on the bass, and then I'm going to stuff it. Now, we can stuff it with a lot of things, but I've made some great French bread croutons, and I'm going to take some of this stuffing and stuff right into the center of the fish. Look at here, right down onto into the inside of the cavity, and that's going to keep the fish nice and plump while it's cooking, but also all that great flavor of the fish will just go right into that stuffing. It's going to be really nice. I'll put some of this onto the serving platter too, right when the fish comes out of the oven. Okay, now that that's done, what I'm going to do is make a sauce. Now, the sauce is going to be a basic white sauce. In fact, let me kick up this heat in my old black iron pot. You know how much I love to cook in these black iron pots. And I'm going to put a little buttery flavored oil. You can use any oil. I'm going to take, this is kind of a buttery, low cholesterol, low fat type thing, but really, really nice. You can buy this in any store too. Not my old Model A bottle, but you can buy some of the oil. We start off with a little butter. You notice I never measure anything. It depends how much you want to make. I'm going to feed about 2 people, so let's say 3/4 of a cup of oil and maybe about an equal part of flour. So we'll put, let's say about 3/4 of a cup of flour right down into it. We're going to make like a little blonde roux. That's another big difference between North Louisiana and South Louisiana, because in North Louisiana we make a lot of the light roux, the blonde roux, so like this, the butter flour roux, whereas in South Louisiana we like to make the dark brown Cajun roux, oil and flour rather than butter and flour. Okay, we'll saute this around just for a second, as you see here, and then we're going to put some light seasonings into it. We can put some onions, of course, put whatever you would like into the pot. I'm going to put a little bit onions and celery mainly into this because I want a light flavor, not too heavy. I want the fish to really be the flavor into this pot. Of course, you know I like to put all of these great sweet bell peppers. This isn't hot peppers. This is the sweet red bell pepper down into that saute pot, and I'll mix that right around into the blonde roux, and you can see how nice that looks already. And the sauce has got to be flavored with something great, so I'm going to use the jumbo lump crab meat. I want you to take a look at the size of the lumps of this crab. Just really, really nice. Look at this. Down into the pot. Now, who would throw jumbo lump crab into the pot except people cooking in North and South Louisiana? So we'll stir that around for a second and move all of that in. Now, let me tell you what I'm going to thin this out with. A little earlier today, I made some nice crab stock. Now, I took the shells of the crab, and I took onions and celery and bell pepper. You know how to make a stock. Just whatever's left over in the kitchen, just throw it in a pot, boil it for about 25, 30 minutes, and put it down into the pot. This is all the natural flavor of the crab will be instantly transferred right into this roux flavor. And look how nice and pink that is. And you just continue to add the stock as long as it takes to get it to the consistency that you want for a nice sauce. I like my sauces slightly thickened, so I'm going to not add too much stock to it. I just want that great. Imagine how much greater the flavor is going to be in this pot with that crab stock than had I just put water in here. And look in the stores. You can get bouillon cubes. You can get fish bouillon, shrimp, any kind of bouillon cubes you want to create this stock if you don't have the shells of the crab. Again, a little bit more because I want to make sure I have a nice thick sauce, but not so thick that it'll just make a cake in my pan when I bake the fish. So I'll let all of this come together for just a second while I take my fish and put it into the roasting pan. Now, this is a lot of fun. You're going to love this, believe me. I'm going to take my fish and put it right here. Move this old crab meat out of the way. And look at this old black roaster. Now, this is about a 100-year-old roaster. And I'm going to put into the bottom of the roaster, I'm going to put sliced tomatoes. You can see these are Creole tomatoes. And the reason I'm putting the tomatoes and green onions down into the bottom of the roaster is because I want to make sure that the fish does not stick to the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to continue to put these all around the bottom. This is kind of like a little buffer to keep the fish from sticking. Move all of that in there. Maybe one more little tomato. And then the green onions. I'm going to make a little fence, just like this little checkerboard across the bottom. Isn't that pretty? Look at all the colors in cooking. You know, that's one of the most important things to me. I know you hear me say that all the time about color in cooking, but it's so important because it makes the dish look so good. Now the fish right down into the baker. Look how pretty that is, all of that. Now the sauce ought to be done. Oh, yes, just perfect. You have to remember that this is going to cook again for a pretty long time. So we want to cut this fire off, cut it off the other way. And then, boy, what a hot pot. Then I'm going to pour this right down over the fish. Oh, boy. You need a friend to help you with this pot here. It's so hot. right down over the fish, if you can see that. I know you can. Look at that. And this fish is going to bake at about 375 degrees, or I guess for about 30, maybe 40 minutes until it's done. But you can imagine how nice it's going to be. Let me get this out of the way. You can imagine how nice that's going to be when it's all done. Guess what? I have one already done in the oven, so I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to make you wait hours to see it. Get this out of the way. And let me get this right out of the oven so you can see it. Oh, boy. Oh, nice. Oh, talk about heavy. And then I'm going to take the top off, but get this oven closed. Wait till you get a shot of this. Oh, look at that baked fish. That's the baked striped bass of North Louisiana. I have to plate this up. I have to plate this fish up for you. I can't let it just sit in that pot. I got to show you what it looks like. You have to take a big spatula because otherwise you'll break the fish. And now you'll know why I wanted to put the tomatoes and everything under it. You see how nice that is? Oh, did it anyway. Broke the tail off. But the good thing about it is you can just reach down in there, get the tail, and fix it. Because we're gonna cover it with some sauce and all that great crab meat, that lump crab meat, the tomatoes, all of that will be right on the fish. Look how nice that is. The baked striped bass of North Louisiana. Just wonderful. And remember the stuffing on the inside of it. Put a little color on that. You know my coloring. A little bit red, a little bit purple. And that's it. Beautiful striped bass from North Louisiana. Put this right up here. We're going to bite into that a little later on. Okay, now I have to move this hot pot out of the way. Boy, I'll tell you, I've got a lot of things working up here today. Move that. Now, we talked about North Louisiana, and we talked about Natchitoches. And one of the most famous dishes in all of Natchitoches is the Natchitoches meat pies. And when I was on a trip to Nova Scotia just a couple months ago, and one of the things that I discovered was the origin of Natchitoches meat pies. And I want to show you exactly how that dish was done in Nova Scotia. I'm going to put a little oil into the pot. I think every culture has meat pies, but not like Louisiana. So I'm going to, a little bit oil. And then what we're using for the meat pie is cubed beef or cubed pork. In Natchitoches, they actually take the pork and beef and ground it up. So they begin with ground meat, but in Nova Scotia, where the pies originated, they start with the cubed pork and cubed beef. So I'm going to put, a couple hands full right down into the saute pan. Again, very hot fire, black skillet, couple 100 years old. Nothing cooks better than these skillets as far as I'm concerned. Right down into that. And one of the things that I found was that in Nova Scotia, as in North Louisiana, they don't introduce a lot of seasonings into the pot. Only just very basic seasonings to make sure that the dish has a great flavor. So I'm going to do exactly the way they did it up in Nova Scotia and in Natchitoches. A little bit onions, a little bit celery, and then a touch of garlic. You know I love garlic, but so do they in Nova Scotia and Natchitoches. So a couple nice spoons full right in there. And then you just kind of stir this around until the meat browns nicely. And it takes about, I guess somewhere in the neighborhood of an hour and a half for this meat to really brown nicely. And the key to this dish, to the success of this dish, is that as the meat cooks and browns, you have to constantly add a little bit beef stock or a little bit beef bouillon to the dish to make sure that it continues to get more tender and more tender until the meat just falls apart. And I have a saute pan already done with the meat that's already cooked, and I want you to take a good look at this because this saute pan has been cooking for, I guess 2 or 3 hours, adding stock to it every now and then. Again, you can use any of the bouillon that's found on the shelf of the stores, or beef consomme will work just fine. and just let it slowly cook until it all falls apart. And then what you want to do to make that meat pie, I've already have some nice little pie shells already rolled out. Of course, you can go into the market and get some already made, or just use your favorite pie recipe. Let's do 2 of these quickly, and I'll show you what they look like. Very simple dish to do. Again, I'll put that right here. I already have some chilled. You see how it looks when it's chilled, and you want to use it chilled because it's got to go into the pie shells, and you certainly don't want the pies to, the dough to get nice and mushy right here, or when the hot filling goes in. So you want to put a nice spoon of the filling right down into the pie, like that. Another little spoon right here. Oh, look at again, all the colors. You know where I learned about color in cooking? Was when I was visiting Japan many years ago. The Japanese love color, and they taught me that if people spend enough time coloring food, they're going to spend enough time making the food taste good also, not only look good. So that's why I do so much of that. Now we can take a little egg wash. I've got cream, milk, little egg, water, whatever, and just dust around the edge of it. Get that dust, that flour dust off of the edge, just like that. Very simple to do. In Natchitoches, they fry this pie. However, in Nova Scotia, they bake the pie. So I've baked these. I've baked them and fried them. They're great either way. And now that that's done, I'll just fold it over like this, both of them. Just really simple to do. And then I'll use a fork to mash. Come on, get right there. I'll just mash it all the way around to seal it nice and tight. And you can imagine all of the nice beef juices down inside of the little Natchitoches meat pie once it starts to bake. How nice and juicy and flavorful that pie is going to be on the inside. Let me just keep going all the way around, just like that. And then you would put it onto a buttery baking sheet. And I'll just take these and put them right out of the way here, because I have some of these already done too. I tell you, I'm ready today. I've got everything all done. That's the way I think we need to do it. Oh, here they are. Look at these when they come out of the oven. Get a good shot of that. Isn't this beautiful? These are all of the Natchitoches meat pies baked. I put a little egg wash right on top of them before they went into the oven. I baked these about 375 degrees, I guess, for, maybe about 40 minutes until they're nice and done. And then the Acadians in Nova Scotia, as well as the people of Natchitoches, always serve one nice pie on a plate, and sometimes they'll cut it open and put a little spoon of some kind of a jelly or a jam. In Nova Scotia, they use cranberry jelly. Here in South Louisiana, I like to use a little pecan jelly or mayhaw jelly or one of those things. But in Natchitoches, sometimes they just walk down the street and eat a little pie, just like a little fig pie or something. Just a wonderful dish. Natchitoches meat pies. I'm going to put these right out of the way. Now, I've stuffed this, the fish with cornbread dressing, but rice is one of the biggest dishes of North Louisiana. So you can imagine that rice would go into a lot of the stuffings and dressings of North Louisiana. Here I have just a nice pecan-flavored rice. And the pecan-flavored rice has been colored again with some nice fresh peppers and wild Louisiana mushrooms. Take a look at this. This is the wild Louisiana mushroom. They grow all over the bayous and forests. And the Cajuns, as well as the people of North Louisiana, use the wild oyster mushrooms in a lot of things, especially the stuffings and dressings. So stuff the fish with a rice dressing if you want to. And there's a lot of things in the grocery stores, bread stuffings, rice stuffings, that you can just buy and cook instantly in your home and put it into a fish. Next to that, a nice little carrot dish. This is a carrot souffle. And what I've done is to take the carrots and shredded them. And after they were shredded, I made a nice little egg wash and put down inside and baked it. So we have some pretty color right down into the dish. Now, I promised that a good friend of mine would come to visit. You saw me cook those Natchitoches meat pies. Well, I want to introduce you to Mayor Joe Sampite. How are you from Natchitoches? Great, great. Good to have you with us today. How's everything in Natchitoches?
Oh, good. I got to give you this Medal of Honor. I love Natchitoches.
That's it.
And,
I do love Natchitoches.
If we could push Louisiana like this, we'd be in good shape. And this is a burnout light bulb. In our last year's Christmas festival, our economy is kind of depressed a little bit, so we decided to use this as our theme for the Christmas festival.
Light bulb.
And I want you to give that back to me next time you come to Natchitoches.
Hey,
I'll give you a good one.
I'll do it. I'll come and I'll exchange the burnt light for a good one, since y'all need help up in North Louisiana, right?
We need help, right.
Okay, you know, we talk about the Christmas festival and the Christmas lights of Natchitoches. It's known all over the country about the light festival and the Christmas festival in Natchitoches. Tell me a little bit about it. We have some scenes here, in fact, from the Christmas festival. Look how nice this is. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at here down on the riverbank of Natchitoches on a 33-mile lake. This Christmas festival, of course, is 64 years of age. And the lights, we have about 165,000 light bulbs, which, of course, is many, many miles long. And the river, of course, is very unique because it was cut off the Red River. And, of course, now it's called a lake. We also have the lights, of course, you see it says Goodwill. We have about 50 different sets in the city, very unique. And we have, as I said, thousands of people come to Natchitoches. And the stars, of course, the Star of the East. We have the Christmas tree there, which is very unique, and it stands about 40 feet tall. And we'd like to invite people to come to Natchitoches and to see what it's really all about. It's culture, the Christmas festival, and things of this nature.
When exactly does the festival begin again?
It starts always the first Saturday of the month. The lights stay on for the whole month of December.
Oh, great. Well, I tell you, I can't wait to get back. I love that festival. I really do. And we're going to talk a lot more about the festival and about Natchitoches, but right south of you, about an hour or so, is the town of Ruston, right?
Looks like a Ruston Peach.
And that's a Ruston Peach. So we're going to put these cooking, and we're going to continue to talk. I'm going to do a little sauteed Ruston Peach of North Louisiana with praline ice cream of South Louisiana. So I'm going to let you stir these while we put them right down into the pot. Hang on to your blue spoon. Let me ask you another question. It's tough enough to pronounce the name Natchitoches, let alone spell it, but where does the name come from, Natchitoches, Louisiana?
It's the Indian name. Of course, it came from the cattle chief and the cattle tribes, and the word Natchitoches means chinkapin is a small nut. They even use it in cooking, and that's where the name came from.
Chinkapin, you know, when I watched the movie that was made in the very famous movie made in your hometown, Steel Magnolias, that was the name of the town they used, wasn't it?
Right. They used the word chinkapin, which, of course, means Natchitoches. And they couldn't use Natchitoches because of the lawsuit that they create from it. They talk about a scene about the mayor fooling around with the senator's daughter who was missing Merry Christmas.
That didn't happen.
No, that didn't happen. No. So those things they had to, the reason they call it chinkapin rather than Natchitoches.
Well, I'll tell you, your town is so famous. Everyone in Louisiana always tries to get up to Natchitoches for Christmas, and it's so beautiful with the bayous running through the city. You know, you and I have a mutual friend, a friend by the name of Curtis Jobert, who is mayor of Eunice, Louisiana. And he tells me that when a Southern politician decides to run for office, the first thing he hires is a campaign manager, but the second thing he hires is a cook.
That's right.
Is that true
That's
also
true.
in North Louisiana?
Also in Natchitoches, too.
Well, great. What we're going to do now is add a little cinnamon stick to the peaches, and I want you to stir those really nice around there. You can flip them over if you want. I'm going to put some cloves down into it. And then I'm going to sprinkle some brown sugar. Boy, I'll tell you, have you done this before?
No.
I'm going to put the brown sugar down into it like that, and that'll sweeten them up. And you can mix that sugar down in there nicely. And then I'm also going to add a little cinnamon, nutmeg, any of the normal spices that you would use for desserts in your home. Just go ahead and feel free to put it into the dish. I'm using cinnamon, nutmeg, a little ground allspice, all of these nice things right down into the pot. Now, as the sugar melts, you start to create a nice flavor down in there with the brown sugar. A very famous person who lived to be almost 102 in your hometown was also a friend of mine, Clementine Hunter,
right.
One of the most famous primitive painters. She brought a lot of worldwide attention to your city, didn't she?
She sure have, and we getting ready to have a special Monto tour. We're going to have an old depot. We're going to make it special dedicated to her. And, of course, we're going to try to name it the Clementine Hunter Memorial Center for the Cultures of the Black Community.
Great. Well, look, I'm going to pour a little brand in here. Why don't you go over to the freezer and get me out a bowl of that ice cream, praline ice cream we made earlier. And I'm going to flame the peaches now with a little peach liqueur. Now, you can leave this out. But watch this here. Boy, you talk about hot. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Now, I'm going to take that ice cream, and I have an old platter right here. I'll tell you, I'm going to take the platter. This is Praline ice cream from South Louisiana. We're going to mix with the North Louisiana peaches. Put a couple of them right on there, a couple of the scoops. And Mayor, you can take this from me if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And then some of the peaches right down around the ice cream. Turn these over, nice and hot. Boy, that brown sugar really makes a nice hot dish, but very flavorful, a unique flavor too in Louisiana, the brown sugar. Y'all do any sugar cane raising above Alexandria, or that's all
Most
south?
of it's done down south.
Down south,
right.
Huh?
Ours is strict basic cotton, corns. We have, of course, the forest industry, the Kisatchie National Forest.
Right, okay. Now we're going to just go ahead and put the sauce right on top of the ice cream like this. And Mayor, I tell you, time flies in the kitchen when you're having fun with all of your friends, and I appreciate you coming by so much today. Thank you for coming and visiting with us. And I want to tell everyone out there to make sure that you come back and visit with us again as we continue to cook up more of these great Taste of Louisiana. We're going to taste some of this ice cream. Let me get this off of the fire here. Get this nice hot thing off of here. I think I have a spoon here. Go ahead and bite into that. Oh, yeah, I have another one here. Absolutely. May have to get some of that. It's not too bad for a country boy, huh?
That's right. I'm ready.
Funding for this program was provided by Bruce Foods Corporation, makers of Bruce's Yams and other distinctive Louisiana-style food products. And by the Dairy Farmers of Louisiana. Fresh ideas in cooking begin with milk.